Are you chasing success or chasing attention?
Success.
Okay. Are you building real skills or just an online image?
Real skills.
All right. Do your friends help you grow or keep you comfortable?
Keep me comfortable.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to come back and ask you guys some of these same questions 2 years from now and see if they're the same answers. Because your friends should help you grow. Friendships are sometimes uncomfortable because you need to have somebody that's going to tell you how you moving is not right. But we're going to connect to that in a year or so. Welcome to another episode of the Sincerely Yours podcast. It's been a while, but we're back. Today we had a very powerful episode. We're going to be speaking to the younger generation about identity, pressure, social media, purpose, discipline, and most importantly, their self-worth. This episode will serve as a mentor-style message from experience, not judging, just from experience. Speaking directly to young people about navigating the confusion, expectations, and the fast pace of what we call modern life. So I have Jack and I have Amuna. We're actually seniors graduating in a week or so. They both have decided to come and join us today and just talk about what life looks like and more importantly, what their future holds. So one thing I like to say is, thank you both for joining. The world is much different than it was when I graduated 30 years ago or something like that. But it's a much different time. Consequences are very dire. There's a lot of pressure, whether it's social media or peer pressure, just the expectation of having it all together at the tender age of 18. And that's really unrealistic, right? So, the world will try to tell you who you are before you have even thought about it yourself or defined who you are. So let's talk about some of the choices that both of you guys have made. I understand that you guys have decided to forego going to college right out of high school. And, given this current state of events and where we are today, um, is that something that a lot of people in your class is choosing to do? Or is it a smaller group that decided, hey, I'm not going to pursue college right after school and maybe get some work experience? Let's talk about it. What made, first of all, what made you guys decide that? And then how are your peers going at it? A lot of people going to school. Some are trying to take a year off, 2 years off, and get into the workforce. Let's talk about it.
Well, what made me decide not to want to go to college, like started off going through old school, I was like, I'm starting to get tired of this. So I don't want to do another 4 years at a university. And I was looking more to trade school. It's like, I really like doing stuff like with my hands on type of stuff. So trade school like a really good option for me. And so yeah, I decided to go to trade school instead of going to university.
Okay. What about you, Amina?
I really didn't start working right after high school and college. I didn't really see I wanted to go to college at first, but I decided not to just because I just didn't like he said I didn't want to go a lot of another 4 years of school. So it was just I don't want to waste time and money going to a university and there I really didn't know what I wanted to do at first.
Not being committed.
Right. And
Yeah.
so that's why I decided opening not to go.
So I think that's a very big decision. And, based off of what you both just shared, you thought this through. This wasn't just something that you decided to do last minute. I really appreciate both of you guys' openness and honesty. I think the worst thing that as parents, what we do, we often try to force kids into college. We often force you to, make up your mind at 18, 17, 18, 19 years old, where you're going to be for the rest of your life. You don't even know where you are at the current moment. So how are you going to be able to define what you're going to be 5, 10 years later? I also think that, the approach that both of you are taking, it's not necessarily doesn't mean that you're not going to go to college. It just means right now. And I think that a lot of parents, if we were honest, right, and open, we would rather our kids tell us, hey, look, we want to take a reprieve. We want to take a break to save that money. Because the worst thing, right, sending you to that 4 year at university and you're up there, jacking, whatever you're doing up there, right? You know, besides going to school. So I think that's something that, we probably need to explore a little bit more. I think that like in the black community, especially like, the older generations, our elders, they really believed and really fought and taught us that education is your way out, right? And it is, right? Because I'm a product of I went to school straight from high school, was thinking about everything else but books. I'm gonna leave it there because this is PG today. It ended up, flunking out and getting into trouble, and end up finding my way to the military. But today's not about me, so I want to keep it really on you guys. But I think that just for you guys to be that aware and really thought out, what your next move, what your roadmap looks like, really shows a level of maturity. I think, just by our opening, this is a very different show than we normally have, right? Obviously, the Sincerely Yours podcast is a family broadcast, but it's really tonight, it's really not about new in my peer group or anything. It's really about talking to the younger generation. Two teenagers, 18, have their whole life ahead of them. And it seems like you guys have at least started the roadmap to get ultimately to your destination. Let's jump into the pressure of being somebody. And what does that look like to both of you guys?
I feel like the pressure to be somebody, like, especially now with how big social media is, there's like a lot of people posting like, oh, like, they're 18, they got like 2 cars, or like they're already moving into like an apartment. So I feel like people seeing that be like, oh, like I gotta try to one up them or do better or get on their level. So everybody's trying to like do this and do that just to try to keep up with everybody else.
Do you think that's a facade or do you think it's reality?
I feel like it's like 50-50 because I feel like one part, could actually be a reality. Like people are actually putting in work, like working towards like their dreams at a young age. And another part could just be people, just lying or, trying to like get the views or the clicks on social media.
What are your thoughts about that, Amina?
I think it definitely has a lot to. I think it's big now to do with social media. I see where partially like even in schools and stuff like that, a lot of people be like, "Oh, where I can get all this stuff more than you can," but it's like, can you really get that stuff, or you just put it in there like, "Oh, I have more money than you," and types of things. So I think it really has to be a major part of social media. I feel like to influence even people in school as well.
Yeah, I think that's real. I think there's an unrealistic expectation for you guys to be someone earlier than you need to be, right? I think also both of you brought up some very valid points, and we're gonna really do a deeper dive into social media in the next, segment, right? But I think that are you guys afraid based on the choices that you're making or the path that you guys are pursuing? Are you, or should I say, the thought of falling behind to your peers, that way, was that a factor in your decisions?
Really, like, I didn't see myself falling behind. I really saw myself as ahead of them because they're going to like a 4-year university. They're wasting all their money on like the college debt and all that stuff. While I'm out here like in the workforce making money, actually like learning more stuff. While the at school, a lot of them probably just out, doing stuff and learning.
I think a major part that really played into me now wanting to go to college is I was always in fear of like I wouldn't be able to get a job or being in college, or I wouldn't have like the security or money. So I feel like a lot of people would feel that they being in college just because you also worried about school. Um, I feel like that also just played a part of my decision as well.
Yeah, like I said, I think in the opening, I think your generation, you guys' generation has um, unrealistic pressures than previous generations might not have to face, right? Um, Again, it's a huge delta between when I graduated, my generation versus yours, but it was okay to say, "Hey, I absolutely don't know what I'm going to do," right, and figure it out, right? Whether it was working a job somewhere, just a job, or whether it's, going to community college, taking up some classes, what have you. I just think, Mara, that again, everybody expects you to know at 18, 19, maybe even 20, what you're going to do the rest of your life, whether it's your career, whether it's your identity, or just your future uh, at whole. And I think that's really unfair expectations. And I think it has it can potentially have very dangerous impacts because again, I love the fact that both of you said that you didn't feel like you're going to be left behind. Unfortunately, there are a lot of kids that actually feel like they're behind and they take on these things or these dreams of their parents because that's usually what it is, right? My mom or dad, my parents want me to go do this university, want me to do this, and nobody ever asks at that point, hey, what do you actually want to do? Life is it's a long journey, right? So it wasn't designed to figure it all out at once, right? And I think that you both, even at 18 years old, you both have a great understanding on that. And I think that's definitely, your parents taught you well, right? Being grounded, being humble, and most importantly, running your own race. Because you're looking over at somebody else or trying to outdo this person, you lose yourself and you ultimately end up losing the race. Let's jump into social media a little bit because in our platform, we talk a lot about social media influencers or the influence of social media, period. And we just look at it. We've, throughout the various platforms, we've kind of hit it from every angle, right? But today, I really want to focus on the youth and the angle or the impact that it may have on you guys. When you think about, Jack, I think you just mentioned that comparing yourself to online lifestyles. Like, we were talking a little bit before we got on camera, right? Everybody's winning, everybody's balling, nobody has a bad day. I mean, it's shit, 10-year-old millionaires out there, you know what I mean? So, seeing all of that and having such access to it because we all have these devices, right? So we can be anywhere we want to be, go anywhere we want to go, look at any, and that's something obviously my generation didn't have, and I'm very appreciative of that, right? You could only see what was down the street, around the corner, wherever you physically went, right? So, but I think that you guys, again, you have access, global access, instant access. How how, if it does, how can that be an addiction to being validated or seeking or gaining approval? Have you guys seen that, like, just in your own social circles, maybe in your high school, some of the friends that you may have in your inner circle? Um, I think you mentioned, like, people saying that they have all these things and saying, I have more money than you, et cetera, et cetera. But hiring your own personal life, have you guys seen that either indirectly or directly?
Like personally, I haven't like really seen that, especially like my group of friends that I'm around. Like I haven't really seen a lot of people trying to like show off as being a different person on social media. Just trying, yeah, like you were saying, flex having money and you really don't. But I haven't really seen too much of that.
I feel like the I would say it's kind of personal. Like a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, you can't afford this, but you can go do something else." Typically, like, oh, like if there was one opinion where I had a job and I wanted to save my money because I wasn't getting paid, every time. And I had another person tell me, well, you can't pay for your food at that route, but you can go. But like basically, like you just don't have a job. You don't have a job, but you could pay. You can't. Sorry, you don't have a job, but you can't pay for like your stuff that whatever. So I have to pay for you because you don't have any money. I feel like already people try to use that against you, that you don't have a lot like they do, or you don't like just because I didn't get a job at the same time as you, you think you're better than me because you have a job before me.
How does that make you feel?
At the all of that because it's like I feel like you look down upon me when people do that, or you look at me differently.
Then help me understand this. Was this individual, was that person your friend?
Yes.
Not really.
Not wrong. No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because, friends don't do that, right? Well, I don't know. If I got to do it too much time, I'm gonna say, I'm your daddy at that point, right? My daddy. If I got to do it that many times, but no, I'm just joking with you. But no, I think that I think given, where we reside, right? The district that you guys are in, I think there's a multitude of different things going on, right? It's a predominantly white district. So you guys are definitely, minorities. Um, how has that, like, if it is, because I know I don't want to get too much into detail, right? But how does that have an impact on you guys? And um, given that, a lot of people out in this area, they're doing pretty well, right? It's a lot of old money out here. It's a lot of, fathers out here, you know what I mean? And how does that, or if any at all, does that impact you? Because I know that, kids gonna be kids, right? I mean, we were mean spirited too, right? But the difference, like where I grew up, all of us was poor, right? So how do you maneuver, right? Um, Living in wealthy areas or areas that have wealth, and you have those type of kids kind of looking down or saying things to you. One, how does that make you feel? And then two, how, if any, did that play a role in your decision to say, I'm going to go out and jumpstart, joining the workforce and getting, a trade or getting certified? Did that have anything to do with that?
Oh, I feel like in a way it did, because if all these people are telling me, oh yeah, like, you know, for example, they're like, oh, you don't have as much money as I do. It's like, okay, well, now I want to go and make more money than they have, or make it just as much as they have. So, like, a lot of people, like you were saying, in this area do have a lot of money. So, them talking down on us would, like, make, or me and a lot of other people want to, like, go get them more money, or, like, go work harder and to prove them wrong.
But like, who we are, like nothing's gonna be given. We gotta go and take it. I'm not talking about strong arming, but what I'm saying is outpacing, outplaying them by their rules, right? And you're gonna, as you go, trust me, I'm a huge delta between our ages, right? But it's the same game, right? It really is the same game. It's just new tools, new rules, but it's still the same game. And I think you can use that one or two ways, right? You can take it personal. You should take it personal, right? But it should be fueling positive, right? To make you go out there and not necessarily say, I'm gonna prove somebody wrong. It's to prove yourself right. You know what I mean? So I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know if you were going to say something. I kind of jumped in.
You're good. I feel like I see that with a lot of people like here, well, for real life there, is just a lot of people is plants money in our age. Like it's not their actually money. We're not going out and working. So what I see is I'm the person who's making my money because I have a job right now, and I'm going out and making the money. I feel like I'm in a sense not better than them, but I feel better that I remember it's my hard work and my money paying for the things that I had.
But your parents are trying to, your parents are not doing that. No. Right? So it's more so about building character. And that's what I was alluding to. That's what I was alluding to earlier when I said you got to go out there and take it. Not like physically strong on nobody, but, it's a different feeling. It's a different level of being proud when you go out there and get it out the mud yourself, right? It's a great feeling to set the standard to be the new norm for your family. And that's where the advice, the gem that I would give both of you guys, you got to run your race. You can't worry about what somebody else said. Unfortunately, this country, certain people have had a huge head start over us. But think about all the great people that come from that look like us. Think about all the sacrifices, the contributions to this country, regardless if they give it to us or not. Think about all of those things. So we all are at a disadvantage, right? We just are, and don't let nobody ever tell you that way. But I'm not saying that for you to use it as a crutch, right? I want you to dig deep into that and use it as your superpower. Let it become your superpower. Make sense?
Yeah.
Let's talk about finding your purpose, right? What does that mean to both of you?
I feel like it means like finding like like who I truly am and not looking to like if I looking at somebody else's personality and feeling like oh I gotta be them or portraying something that I'm not. Even though like what I might do, so other people might think it's corny. I know like that's truly who I am. That's my identity.
Nice. What about you, John?
kind of going like what Amin was saying, how really trying to find like who you want to be, like the stuff that you want to do in the future instead of like, looking at all these, maybe like the athletes. I mean, yeah, it's good to like idolize people and be like, oh yeah, I want to work like LeBron, I want to be like LeBron, but really at the end of the day, you want to be LeBron and maybe even better than him. Work on being like better than I guess who you idolize, so you could be who you are.
You want to be a 6-time loser? That's about Team Jeb, then Kobe, but we'll talk about that later. And no, I get your point. I get your point. I think there's a rare challenge. And I'm just speaking from a parent perspective. Our oldest son is 21 years old, right? So, he went to college now. He's kind of, working with his mom. She has her own business or whatnot. And, the driving factor was to make money now. He wants to make money now. But I also think that as a youth, there's a clear distinction. Like a lot of people think their purpose is to be popular or wanting to be popular, right? Your purpose has nothing to do with being popular. Trust me, it doesn't, right? As you guys mature and you go through life and life, and as we like to say, you're gonna see that your purpose is a lot of the things that both of you mentioned, right? But you got to pick, not forcing a religion, but you gotta be spiritual. I just say that, right? And let that be your guide in light, right? Purpose and discipline; those two things go hand in hand, right? You can't have one without the other, right? So, um, I think that a lot of kids these days, and adults, unfortunately, grown adults, but we're going to talk about the youth today. Um, a lot of people are chasing attention in many different ways. You guys want to be on the other team, chasing purpose, right? Because attention to come good and bad, right? But when you're walking in purpose and you're doing what you're meant to do and what you love to do, you'll never have a bad day. I'm serious. Like when you really find like your purpose and whatever career that you want, when somebody asks work hard, no, I never worked a hard day in my life. That's not my case. I took many years to find my purpose, but what I'm saying, just the just the fact that you guys are aware of that, I think that you guys are definitely ahead of the pack from that perspective. Let's talk about long term thinking, a long term goal setting. Where do you see yourself in the look? I know it may be hard, but let's just say you're 18 now. Where do you see yourself, Jack, at 28? Where does Amina see herself at 28?
Let's see, by 28, if everything's gonna go good with trade school, then hopefully having my own business, having like maybe a family, a house and all that, just, living like I wanted to live it, like you're saying about my purpose, maybe by then, find what my purpose is and, living life to the fullest.
I see that 28. Mine on purpose, I wanna own multiple businesses. I wanna work for myself. So I feel like at 28, at least I'll be successful on there, at least one of my own businesses and proceeding to the next one. My purpose, like I don't want to be tied down to one career my whole life or sitting behind a desk in an office. I want to actually be out there working.
Nice, nice. Okay. So do you guys know what vision boarding is?
I mean, I've heard of it, like,
So you guys don't do it.
I don't know. Well, I know what the vision word is. I don't do one.
How you gonna get to where you want to be at 10 years from now?
You have to write down a plan, and I do have to make a vision board. But I feel like I just push it off. 'Cause I'm like, I'm living, I don't have to do it. But it is something that I need to do.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you gotta leave here and go and create a vision board. It might be helpful, but I think that since both of you have a very strong understanding of where you would like to be in 10 years, you gotta have a plan to get there. Doesn't just magically happen. And one thing that I learned, and obviously I didn't do this the first 20 years of my life or so, but I have been doing it probably for the last 25 years or so, give or take. You know, you have to visualize it, you have to see it before it comes, right? And I think that, you use these 4 years where you could have been in school, because just because you guys, and I want to be very clear in the framing, just because you guys not going to school now doesn't mean that you are forever against going to college, right? I kind of told you guys about, my path when we started. Um, at one point, I just said, I don't need school, right? Because I went to school, I wasn't know what I'm supposed to do. I got kicked out, then I got caught up in some trouble, then I had to go to the military, and I was like, man, F all this stuff, right? I'm just gonna get to the money the legal way, right? But I think, being a business owner, both of you guys want to be a business owner, you might find yourself at someone's university, getting your MBA or degree in business or whatever the case may be. So just because you're choosing or opting not to go right away to school doesn't mean that that's going to be your forever position or stance. Because, as you get older, and let's say everything goes the way you plan it, right? You got multiple businesses, you're doing your thing, you got employees, you got everything's going your way. You know, one thing, and this is why I believe that, our ancestors, our elders always talk about, getting that piece of paper, right? And it took me a while to really understand what they were saying, but I get it now. And that is something that I definitely advocate and champion, no matter what age you are, because there's older people getting degrees, going back to school, and kudos. It's never too late to go back to school. That's not a cliche. That's a real thing. Because at the end of the day, they can never take that piece of paper away from you, right? Now, what you do with it, like one of mine is in the tube that I never even opened, and right in this right here. But uh, it's something that they can never take away from you. So I just wanted to, circle back to that. And, one of the last things I said before we kind of transition into the next discussion point is, purpose is something that you build that's long lasting. Don't think it's going to come instantly. And you're going to have some setbacks. Everything not going to go your way. I'm here. It's not. Life doesn't work that way. But it's what you do and how you respond to those things, right? Do you say, hey, okay, I tried this 5 times, and you never know, it's the sixth time, maybe that's what the plan was. So you just got to keep going, keep persevering, keep just doing your thing. If you continue to see it and visualize it, it can be done. All right. Let's talk about character over image. I know we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, but let's really talk about that. Like, I look at the world now, and it's unfortunate. Even people my age, my generation, um, the world is really obsessed with appearances, not who you really are, just who you appear to be. And I think that probably goes to a lot of attention spans. It's eroded. It's a non-existing thing. Like, it's people that said, Aaron, I don't even watch movies. What do you watch? TikTok. I can't sit in and watch a movie for an hour and 30 minutes or 2 hours, and that is crazy to me. So with that being said, how do you maneuver with that, right? Because everybody's so obsessed with how they appear to be in someone else's view. How do you guys feel about that?
I feel like as everybody should, they should really stay true to their own character. If you want to show this image of like who I guess you want to be, you can, but at the end of the day, you really should like stay true to yourself. And I feel like a lot of people, like it was saying, a lot of people are like throwing out this image that they really aren't like actually being. So it's just a whole lot of different things that you could do to change that. But some people just don't want to do it. They just want to sit back and be like, oh yeah, like this is who I am on social media. But really, it's like you're a whole different type of person.
Mina?
I see it as like somebody's always like the image you put out, eventually people are gonna realize what your character is and who you really are. And how you portray yourself now might not be how you portray yourself back then, and people will still realize who you were before. Especially on social media, I rather hear people portray their life is so put together. In reality, when you close your phone and you're not on social media, you're not to be
Yes.
different. It's to be
Yes.
completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I think you both make up some valid points. I think that, trying to just bring it back, stay on topic, the discussion, right? Should I go to school or not, right? when you bring it full circle and who you want to be, who you want to be, and are you living in your purpose, or are you finding or developing your purpose? Um, how do you think, you guys have your own social circles? Um, I believe you guys said that you guys are supportive, or your friends are supportive of your decision. While some of them are going off to college, you guys are going to stay home and join into the workforce. How do you think those relationships going to change? Do you think you guys going to be able to maintain those relationships, those friendships, or you think it's going to differ because they're going off wherever they may go off to, and you guys are staying home?
I feel like it really just depends on who you and like your circle is. Like I know for me and my friends, like nothing's gonna change. Like we're really tight. We're like brothers. So it's like them going out to college and me staying to do the workforce and nothing bad about that. Like, they need something from me while I'm here, I put my hand out and help them with it. If I need something from them, they'll help me just as much as I help them.
That's a really optimistic perspective. And just as someone older, everything's going to change. Everything is going to change. You're going to keep some relationships, the real meaningful ones, and then the others, hey, you're going to grow. You're going to grow apart. You're going to grow, different. You got different things going to mean the world to you at that point. So I'm not telling you that you're not going to have, some of it you'll retain. For me, there's two of my brothers that I've been friends with since I've been 17. I ain't gonna say you do the math, you know how long we've been friends, but you know they've been off to war, college, foreign countries. I've done my thing, went off to war, foreign countries, all these things, and we've always been able to find our way back. But it started out 8 or so, and there's only 3 left. So I think that I think that's an optimistic perspective, but I do think that, as you do enter the workforce and they grow after college, I think if it's meant to be and you really want to maintain that relationship, I think it'll happen. It's just both, all parties have to put in that work to make it happen. And, who knows? They could go off to college, whatever their profession may be. You become a business owner. One of them becomes an attorney. They can be your attorney. I mean, the word is, life is very interesting. It's just really like I'm a firm believer. What you put in is what you get out. So, what about you, Amina?
I feel very loud with my friends. Then going off to college, I feel like it wouldn't really change anything as because of now how our friendships are is that we could go weeks or months without talking to each other. But we could, if I see her or we call each other, we could have genuine conversations like when they stop talking. So I think that's gonna play a part in how when they go to college.
All right. I think this has been a really good discussion. Before we get out of it, let's jump into rapid fire. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I bet this is your first rapid fire. So this is what we do across the platforms. Rapid fires. I'm gonna ask 5 to 8 questions. Wherever the question is, whatever you're thinking, you need to respond. If you think too long, that means you're about to tell a lie. So we just gotta, you're right. Just hear the question and just do a rapid response. All right, I'm gonna take it easy on you guys. You guys are 18. Are you chasing success or chasing attention?
Success.
Okay. Are you building real skills or just an online image?
Real skills.
All right. Do your friends help you grow or keep you comfortable?
Keep me comfortable.
Like it's both.
Wow.
Those are my friends.
Okay. I'm gonna come back and ask you guys some of these same questions 2 years from now and see if they're the same answers. Because your friends should help you grow. Friendships are sometimes uncomfortable because you need to have somebody that's going to tell you how you moving. It's not right. But we're going to connect to that in a year or so. Are you learning who you are or copying who is popular or what is popular?
Learning who I am.
Very good. If the internet disappeared tomorrow, would you still know your purpose?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, that concludes rapid fire. I'm going to do something slightly different because this is the first time we had the youth on the show. So I may give you guys an opportunity to ask me some questions if you have any. If you don't, no pressure.
I know you were talking about like it took you years to find your purpose, but like how long really? Like what you said it took.
let me reframe what I told you, right? I knew my purpose for a long time, but I just fought it. I didn't yield to it, right? I remember to do what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. It was like having your cake and eating it too. So I knew what I was put here to do and how I could have influence and impact others and help build and help, um, support other people. And a lot of time, given my upbringing, and sometimes more of my disposition, I could be kind of standoffish or give the aura like don't talk to me. So I think a lot of it was me just really maturing, and then having starting a family and then getting married, all those things put things in different perspective. I think the most important thing is not to be long winded, but when I really found my purpose, I understood how to be disciplined. So it took me a while. I would probably say, late, late 20s, maybe 30, maybe give or take. And what I will say is, it's an ongoing process, right? You just don't find it today. You just stop feathers every day, making being disciplined and putting one foot in front of the other and making the right choices.
What was your view on social media like?
Keep this PG. This might shock some people, given that I have a presence on social media through the platforms. I think social media is for a lot of bozos. That's just my opinion. I think it's like a place that people can escape and have these ultra realities. I think it's a detriment to our society. I think it's a force multiplier of all the wrong things in our community. That's what I really think. Um, and it's obviously I'm older, and when I grew up, we didn't have this. We didn't have social media, right? I get the social media, obviously given my profession, I'm in tech or whatnot. So I understand the purpose of, integrating, collaborating, connecting people. But I think it's outgrown its original intent, and it's becoming weaponized, and it's to me is detriment to our social and moral standing. You gotta think about it. I mean, with technology, social media, um, a lot of people don't even know how to, write a letter or I mean, it's just when you think about it from a social perspective, it's kind of I know it was intent to advance us, but it's kind of taking us back. It's kind of taking out the human element of feeling and connecting with people. And I think that's very unfortunate. And I think that we're seeing the impact and the results of having too much of this. Good question. Well, I think this was a good discussion, and very proud of you both. Given that we just, really officially met. Both of you at 18 years old, very mature for your age. Like I said, how you both articulated what your plan was, and you guys were steadfast on it. Like, I'm not here to try to change you to go to school or not, but you guys were pretty adamant about what you wanted to do in your plan. I hope, like today's discussion, you could take some of the little gems that was shared and try to apply those things. And I think most importantly for you both, having a good social circle, having a good family, having that support system. Because look, the idea is you're gonna lose. I'm gonna tell you that. The same thing I tell my children, right? You're gonna lose. You're gonna take L's. That's just how it is. And Jack, more so you, because you are a young black man. But the name of the game is to have more wins than losses. Bounce back from your losses. Like LeBron. But it's like you have to learn how to lose or experiencing losing to understand and appreciate how to win. So that's what I would tell you both. Um, understand that it's beauty in the struggle, it's beauty in the setback. Don't let it define you. And if you say it, you see it, you can do it. Don't let anybody tell you that. And your road is gonna look much different than someone else's. Your race is much different than someone else's. Don't compare yourself. You might be 22 and you haven't started your first business, but guess what? A lot of people at 22 haven't started their first business. But you just got to stay true, be disciplined, and understand your purpose. And I can attest to that. Everything else will fall in place as it should. one of the things that I would say in closing, right, to you both is you don't have to have everything figured out right now, right? Life isn't a race. The most important thing that you can do right now is to really learn and focus on who you are individually, right? I think that's one of the foundational pillars to understanding your purpose and also going to the next step, being disciplined and having a fruitful life. Understanding who you are and don't compromise who you are for anyone or anything. Build your character, develop your discipline, and protect your mind. Like we had a show just recently, right? Love you first for anybody else. That's not selfish. Mrs. Sincere not telling you how to be selfish. Mrs. Sincere is telling you how to be healthy. Love yourself first. You understand? Know that you don't have to be the strongest person in the world, right? That's why you have a support group. That's why you have family, friends. Just really understand who you are. And if people are meant to be in your life, they'll gravitate to who you genuinely are. You don't have to put on a facade, be fake. You don't have to be performative in your actions. Just be genuine to who you are. Work really hard. And like I said, everything will fall in place. And, from the last thing I would say is the world may try to define you early, but your purpose is something you discover over time. And if you keep that, everything will be fine. So I think this was a really good episode. I'd love to have you guys back. Maybe not a year, maybe 6 months from now, 6 months from now, you guys would be 6 months removed from graduating out in the workforce. And I would love for you guys to come back and just kind of report what y'all seeing, what you've learned, some of the losses. Because don't come back over here talking about you had no loss. Because I'm not going to go for that. So I know you're not telling the truth. You say, hey, let's see everything worked out as a player. Really? Yeah, no loss in 6 months? Man, y'all ahead of the game. But all jokes aside, it was a pleasure meeting you both and having you guys on the set. You guys are family, so feel free to come back anytime. Get in contact with my people. Y'all know who they are. Till the next time, stay sturdy, choose wisely, and we're the Sincerely Yours podcast family. Take care.